Hey guys, and welcome back. I know I was supposed to upload the rest of the Watercolor Pokemon series first, but I have something that I wanted to talk about first, and that's why I stopped taking commissions. But before we get into that, I just wanted to do a little explaining about the piece that's playing in the background. This is yet another piece for Dina Norland's monthly Patreon art jam. The theme is campfire stories, and I chose to set this one in the same world as my last art jam piece. So the three smaller characters are part of an intelligent dragon cheetah species of mine, and they're shown here hanging out with a friendly harvest deity from their world, who, by the way, is in sore need of a redesign. So that might be a future video idea. I don't know. But I started this in Procreate and finished up in Photoshop. Unfortunately, I did not know that the quality of Procreate time lapses defaults to a mediocre setting, so I apologize if this part of the video looks low quality. The background colors of this piece were kind of a study from Grave of the Fireflies. At least it looked like a screenshot from it, but I can't be 100% sure because I've never actually seen the movie. Anyways, so back on topic. What I wanted to talk about today are the reasons I stopped taking commissions and the importance of taking time for yourself to just unapologetically draw for yourself, whether it's for educational purposes or just the pure joy of it. So sorry if this gets a little bit rambly. So first off, I wanted to throw in a small shout out to everyone who commissioned me before I stopped taking them a few years back. I really appreciate all those people so much. They were really supportive and they gave me the opportunity to learn a lot, not just about art, but about interactions with people as well. And that translated into my real life interactions too, and it helped me out a lot because I suck at people interactions. So I don't know if I would have grown as an artist and a person as much as I did without them. So even though this part of my life is over, for now at least, I'm so thankful that it happened. So for a bit of background, I didn't start drawing seriously and actually trying to improve until I was around 19 or 20-ish back in 2010 or 2011. So I was out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I couldn't find work. And I had a lot of time on my hands and a lot of stories and ideas in my head. So I decided I wanted to get better at drawing so I could bring all these stories to life. So fast forward a year or so and I was still unable to find a job. I blame my anxiety and general awkwardness, but that's another story. And I saw a bunch of other artists taking commissions on DeviantArt. So at first I was really hesitant to try this because, again, anxiety. I was afraid it's going to be a bust and that no one was going to like my art enough to pay for it, yada yada. So what did I do? I dipped my toes in the water by severely underpricing myself, of course. I believe the first commissions I did were around 100 DeviantArt points, which, if you know DeviantArt, it equates to about $1. Yeah, big oof. But to my great surprise, people were actually interested. So once I realized that I could actually make some sort of profit of my art, it gave me mixed feelings because on one hand, I felt like I could contribute something to my household, which was super important to me because I've been battling some crushing inadequacy in that department. And on the other hand, I was hit with a different type of anxiety that I like to refer as to-do list mania. If I didn't have a list of commissions I was working on, then what was I doing? I had a love-hate relationship with having a full list of things I constantly needed to be working on. I hated having obligations, but I felt worthless without them, and I craved that feeling of checking something off my list just to feel like I'd done something. I also feel like it's worth noting that at the busiest part of my commissioned phase, I was still only making enough to pay for some groceries and some other items and some basic vet expenses for my dogs. But it was enough that it set me down this wild path that led through areas of self-destruction and improvement. So the most notable example of this was that as I poured myself into building a reputation and a portfolio, the value I put into my personal work took a sharp downturn. You know, the whole reason I started drawing to begin with, yeah, that was gone. So I started to work on my personal projects less and less. I felt like if I had time to draw, it should be spent on something that was making money. And if I didn't, it was pointless and it made me feel incredibly guilty every time I tried to draw something for myself. So doing art that, you know, just because it made me happy, it just wasn't a thing anymore. It was work, or it was something that I thought would boost my viewer count, and that was it. I didn't love it, and that work was never ending, and it was very much self-imposed. I think when I reached my peak to-do list mania is when I decided to do the Iron Artist Challenge. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but it's basically a challenge where you do a burst of 100 commissions in a short period of time, and yeah, phew. I improved a lot during that time, but at what cost, you know, because I was doing like, I don't know, anywhere between like 3 and 5 pieces a day, and it was super stressful, and I had this enormous list to get through, and it was bad. It was really bad. Like my wrist was killing me, and it got to the point of pretty much being self-harm because I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop working. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So, I think on top of the guilt I was feeling about doing personal work, I had also made the mistake of taking commissions before I was really at all comfortable with my own skill level. You know how people say you should love yourself before you try and get in a relationship? Well, I did not love my art, and here I was trying to sell it to other people. So, like, every commission that I forced myself to take was this huge battle with anxiety. I was like, is this good enough? No, it's not. It sucks, and my commissioner's gonna hate it, and why do I even try? And I shouldn't even be charging for this, that kind of stuff. So honestly, even if they told me that they loved it, part of me never truly believed them. Even my return customers, I was like, huh? They really liked my art enough to buy more? Nani? So you would think at some point I might have gotten more confident, but I never really did. And I think that was because I never gave myself the chance to enjoy what I was doing. And I constantly felt like that was leaking into my art. So after doing this for years, it shouldn't have come as a surprise when, you guessed it, I started to resent my own art and resent doing commission work. So don't get me wrong, I greatly appreciated the support. However, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that it's possible to be grateful you have something while at the same time not feeling fulfilled by it. That probably applies to most jobs out there. So, and since I never gave myself time to just relax with my art and enjoy it, every piece took me ages because my imposter syndrome perfectionist self had to keep coming back and overworking it and making sure it matched up my references. And oh yeah, during all this, I never learned how to not use a reference. I always had to have one that I recreated almost exactly because I was so afraid of going out on a limb and injecting my own personality and natural style into my pieces. So looking back, I cringe at how stiff some of my work was back then. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't use references, but when you feel like you absolutely cannot draw without one, full stop, end of story, then it's not a tool, it's a crutch. So I could feel my creativity drying up. I wasn't drawing to bring my ideas to life anymore. I was drawing to bring other people's ideas to life, and I did this for years. And little by little, I just got so tired. Eventually, I just felt like my art was stagnating. I felt like I'd gone as far as I could go, and suddenly the money and the kind words from my followers just weren't enough to make me want to continue, but I felt like I had to. But I also felt like a fraud. And this is why. I did not like where my art was. It didn't feel like it was tailored to me and how I wanted to draw, because I'd spent years crafting a style to please everyone else, and it felt so fake. So at that point, I'd finished a degree and I met a guy at school who is now my husband, and finally found a job that accepted me. I guess part of it was because it was a male-dominated profession and I have a masculine-leaning personality, so they were just like, hey, come join us. So I was like, yeah. So it honestly couldn't have come at a better time. So I was so burnt out on art, and now I didn't need to do it anymore, and it felt so good. So cue me ceasing to draw regularly. This was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to my art. I think about a year passed where I only drew once in a blue moon. People still ask me for commissions, but now I had the means to say no. And it was a huge weight off my shoulders. So, in time, I started to forget all that resentment I built up toward my art. I slowly started picking up the pencil again, and since I had broken the habit of needing to do it, I was able to work on breaking through all these mental barriers that had kept me from enjoying and improving upon my art. So I went through a long period where I didn't even use references because I wanted to work on drawing quickly, which is something that, like I mentioned before, I just hadn't been able to do. I think it was because I spent so much time looking for references and tried to make sure that they were exact copies. Well, not copies. I mean, I drew them freehand. I wasn't tracing or anything, but yeah, I put so much time into making sure that they were perfect, or trying to at least. So I practiced pulling things out of my head and putting them on paper, no matter how bad it looked at first. It helped me let go of that perfectionism. And the freedom of drawing just because allowed me to put more me into what I was doing. It didn't have to be perfect because it was just for me and no one else. So I haven't taken a commission in years, and I don't plan to for as long as I have other means to fall back on. And honestly, even after all these years, I still occasionally fall back into that what's the point if it's not for something mindset. But I feel like the more I just draw just because, the more I can get over it. So you might be thinking, are you suggesting that nobody should ever take a commission? No. Take commissions, especially if you need the income and especially if you enjoy it, because some people do. Honestly, I do think it's important to take frequent breaks and take some time to yourself to draw for yourself, things that make you happy, things that draw off your creativity, and just to keep you feeling fulfilled by your art. Take time to do mindless doodles no one will ever see. Take time to learn what your style is and where you want it to go, and don't let the money dictate where that is. Draw what is authentic to you. Learn to love what comes out of it, and if you don't, ask yourself and explore why that is. Don't trap yourself in an infinite to-do list building your art around what you think others want to see. It is a road to imposter syndrome and burnout. Just don't do it. And I'm sorry that my voice is starting to crack because I'm not used to talking this much, and yeah, it's going downhill. So we're gonna get through the rest of this. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to not feel guilty about drawing for yourself. If you're like me and you're the type of person who feels like everything you need to do needs to have a purpose, look at it like this. By drawing for yourself, you're developing skills and cultivating a style that could potentially attract even more clients to you. So people notice when you don't like what you're doing. So make sure that you're happy with your work because it's going to translate to your audience. So also, if you're insecure with your work, this could also show up in your communications with your clients, whether you realize it or not. You might put yourself down when you're presenting the piece to them. Like, I'm here to tell you, do not do this. Looking back, I felt like I did this a few times, again, out of anxiety. And I feel like it puts the client in an awkward position where you've put this burden on them to make you feel better about your art. I mean, like, don't show your client the piece like, oh, I'm sorry if this didn't turn out the best, but honestly, if I were in the position of the client in this instance, I'd probably be a little off-put about getting more art because I paid for a piece. No one paid me for an ego boost. So it could also put them in a position of feeling like, because you're looking for reassurance about the piece, you didn't put as much effort into it as your other stuff, you know? So I'm not going to suggest that you present yourself as bursting with confidence when you show clients their commission, because for some people that's just not feasible. For some of us, the best we can do is present our work in a neutral light, and that's perfectly okay. Neutrality is a stepping stone between insecurity and confidence. Some of us might hang out there a little longer than others. We're all different, and that's okay. So as an example, if you're presenting your work to a client and you're not too confident about it, you could just say something like, "Hi, I'm almost finished with your piece except for a few minor details and just wanted to see if you'd like anything changed before I finish this up." So something like that. It's neutral. It doesn't reveal your feelings about it, and at the same time, it invites them to take a good look and let you know their honest thoughts without putting them in the position of having to be your cheerleading squad. So if they pick up on what you thought was wrong with it, then you know what you need to work on. And instead of feeling bad, just do like I mentioned before and take some time to yourself to practice. So that turns into a little bit of a tangent, but yes, all of this is to say that if you're in the commission biz, please, please, please don't forget to take time for yourself so you don't lose sight of your own creativity and so you can continue to grow. And if you're just starting out, please take things slow and go at a pace that does not overwhelm you. So I hope someone gets something out of this long speech and can learn from my mistakes, and I wish you all good luck with your endeavors in the world of commissions. It can be really fulfilling if you go about it with the right mindset. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.